After being among the madness that was Southeastern Conference Media Days, I'm happy and thrilled to be back as the coordinator and liaison of conversation for the hottest show, hottest conversation in terms of Alabama football. This is, in my own words, the podcast Touchdown Alabama magazine. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. Great time at Media Days. Great time in Atlanta, Omni Hotel, College Football Hall of Fame. The guys, tremendous hospitality. Food was great. Atmosphere was pretty cool. Coaches, some great interviews. Got a chance to talk to quite a few players. When you look at Alabama head coach Nick Saban, he just seems so much more excited now than what he was during his first few years with the Crimson Tide. I mean, early Saban in Tuscaloosa didn't show emotion, didn't crack a smile, all business, kind of seemed like a dictator. Nowadays, Nick Saban laughing, giggling, cracking jokes because he knows he's not going anywhere, and he also knows that the program doesn't have any intentions of him going anywhere. So, Nick Saban having fun. I know the fan base wanted to see more captivating personalities when it comes to players, guys like Mack Wilson among others, but I felt like the three guys Nick Saban brought with him did a fine job. Damian Harris stole the show. I mean, this guy, charisma, camera presence, humor, attitude. After his football career is over, I can see Damian Harris in commentary. I can see Damian Harris as a Hollywood actor. I could see this young man being our next president. I could also see this young man running a Fortune 500 company. He just has a glow about himself. Really enjoyed him. Ross Pierschbaker, offensive lineman, highly intelligent young man. Offensive linemen are some of the smartest players in football, and you saw it at Media Days. When Pierschbaker came in from Iowa in 2014, he drew a lot of comparisons to Barrett Jones due to his intelligence and versatility, and you see it right now. And then, of course, linebacker Anthony Jennings was a little bit nervous, but did a pretty good job also. Talked about the relationship that the outside linebacker group has, very special group of players. When you look at Jennings, Christian Miller, Terrell Lewis, Jamie Mosley, that is a very tight-knit group ran by Tosh Lupoi. So, all in all, Media Days, Coach Saban, players, pretty good. When you look at the event as a whole, though, to me, there were a lot of things that were missed where questions were concerned. And for Alabama, the main gist of the conversation was Tua and Jalen. And I get it. I mean, we've been talking about quarterbacks all offseason. And for the Crimson Tide fan base, it's a very tempting situation because for other programs, when you look at Southern California, Texas, Oklahoma, Clemson, those other programs, they need a big-time elite quarterback because probably they didn't recruit well at other positions, or they didn't land the guys that they wanted to land at different positions. Versus Alabama and Nick Saban, it's we can have A and A-plus guys around the quarterback, have a C-plus, B-minus quarterback, and still find a way to make it work. It's almost like you really don't need something or have use for something until a moment occurs to where it becomes an asset to you. For example, you really don't think about, I gotta have a car, or I need a car in this situation until something comes up to where you have to travel and walking, taking your bicycle, or riding the public bus just won't cut it. For Alabama football, it's always been other teams They need a big-time quarterback to beat us. They need a big-time quarterback to win championships. They need that next-level arm to make them special. We don't need that. We can make this work without having the next-level arm. Just as long as we got talent around that guy and that guy can simply manage what's going on, we're Alabama, we'll be fine. Until the 2017 season last year rolled around. When you looked at the Auburn game, Jarrett Stidham making plays, both throwing and running the football. Jalen Hurts, not his finest performance. You've got Tua Tagovailoa on the bench. And for Alabama fans that saw what Tua did in moments leading up to the Iron Bowl, game against Vanderbilt, game against Tennessee, you're thinking, why is this young man on the bench? Why is this next-level talent that everybody believes is the best thing Saban has ever brought in? Why is he on the bench? We can use him in this situation. You look at the Clemson game, college football playoff semifinal, the Sugar Bowl. Defense dominated that matchup. Anthony Jennings was a terror. Raekwon Davis played well. Mack Wilson had a pick six. Levi Wallace played well. Tony Brown was engaged. Everybody did their job. Deron Payne caught a touchdown pass. Offensively, aside from Damian Harris, a lot of inconsistency. And once again, fans point to the sideline. Why is number 13 from Hawaii not in the football game? And when it comes to the national championship against Georgia, where Saban finally makes the move of switching from Jalen to Tua. Last season, in the college football playoff, Alabama needed that next level arm. It came to that situation where we need it. It can be an asset to us because we're playing against Georgia and Jake Fromm is a big-time quarterback. If Alabama would have drawn Oklahoma for the national title game, then it would have really needed Tua because the quarterback on the opposite side of the field, Baker Mayfield, big-time quarterback, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, first overall pick, or the number one overall pick of this past draft venue quarterback. So it came to a situation where Alabama needed to have that guy. So tempting thing when you talk about quarterbacks, if Tua becomes or morphs into what everybody thinks he can be, believes he can be, Alabama fans are wondering, Nick Saban, just pick up the dice, shake it up, blow that thing and roll, and let's hit 7-7-7 every single time. It's the mindset where that is concerned. But the thing I felt like was missed in terms of media days and national pundits could not get the gist of this, I don't understand why, is how scary complete this Alabama coaching staff is. Everybody on this coaching staff, confident, comfortable, know what their roles are, and fully understand what their roles are. Case in point, I'm going to base this off of two coaches, Michael Locksley and Tosh LaPointe. Both of these two men have made history. For the first time under Nick Saban at Alabama, your two $2 million guys, your two marquee guys, your two coordinators were bumped up from the inside. Nick Saban has never done this. Now, he may bump up one guy from the inside, but he never bumps up two. When you dive into Michael Locksley first, offensive coordinator, prior to him, Alabama had Major Applewhite in 2007. 2008, Nick Saban had to make a phone call to Fresno State to grab Jim McElwain, Coach Mack, 2008 to 2011. And then in 2012, Saban makes another call to the Pacific Northwest. Can I get Dougie Nussmeier on the phone from Washington? And here comes Doug Nussmeier from 2012 to 2013. And then in 2014, Nick Saban picks up Lane Kiffin off the street. Mouth got him in trouble for the Oakland Raiders in the NFL. Mouth got him in trouble at Tennessee. Mouth got him in trouble at USC, fired off the tarmac. I heard rumors to where Lane Kiffin's father, Monty Kiffin, has to beg Nick Saban, Coach, please help my son. Please give my son a job. Please give my son a second chance. And it's because of Nick's respect and love for Monty Kiffin that Nick reached out to help Lane, picked up Lane off the street. Kiffin was there from 2014 to 2016. And then, of course, after the whole limbo deal with Steve Sarkisian letting him walk to Atlanta following the 2017 title game off the 2016 season, Nick Saban calls in Brian Daboll from the National Football League, part of that Bill Belichick tree there. So, he's always taken guys from outside the program in terms of offensive coordinator. He bumps up Michael Locksley from the inside. And here's a guy that has been on offense since 1996 when he worked with wide receivers and tight ends at Army military-based school there. He's been a coordinator before at Maryland and at Illinois. Has produced quite a few talented guys. If the name Juice Williams rings a bell, 3,000-yard quarterback at Illinois in 2008, Locksley had him. Aurelius Ben, 1,000-yard receiver in 2008, Illinois, Locksley had him. At Maryland, a career 2,000-yard wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, who caught the incredible game-winning touchdown pass in the final seconds for the Minnesota Vikings last year in the NFL playoffs against the New Orleans Saints. Coach Locks has produced quite a few talented names, and I was able to get some sound from Ross Pierschbaker at Media Days, and we're going to play that sound here in just a minute. Ross talked about how when the job opened up for OC, how the players immediately said Coach Locks would be perfect for this spot. Everybody went to fight for him. Everybody went to bat for him. Running back Damian Harris was probably one of the first few players that came out on social media. My vote goes to Coach Locks. Former Alabama offensive lineman Alphonse Taylor came out and said, I'm voting for Locks. And when Locks got the job, whole team very excited. So check out the sound. This is Ross Pierschbaker answering a question on how excited the team was when Michael Locksley was bumped up.
Recruiting and bringing in a lot of talented guys that really at Alabama, your position is never safe regardless of who you are. Going in, it's like you can be a returning starter, but you're still battling for your spot. So you've always got to be on your P's and Q's and just ready to battle with whoever. So,
Ross, talk about Brandon Kennedy at Alabama.
Brandon was a very smart guy, quiet guy, but he was a great friend of mine, great player as well. He had an injury that he's trying to battle through and get back from. But at Tennessee, he's going to do great things, and I'm really excited for him. He's a very nice guy. I helped him when he was getting recruited here. I was hosting him. So he's a hard worker and just kind of puts his head down and is ready to work. So Tennessee, going to get that.
I know Jeremy Pruitt coached on the other side of the ball, but what's it like to kind of see the connection between those two programs as coaches?
I think a lot of coaches see the success that Coach Saban's had and been able to sustain, so they're going to try to, kind of copy that, bring it over their own program. So I just think that that's a, testament to Coach Saban and what he's done here. So, hopefully it takes a couple years for Tennessee to work, once I'm gone. They can have all this success they want, but no, he's going to be great.
He's about to enter year 3 here at Ross, but what have you seen from Brent Key, offensive line coach? What's been the biggest growth for him that you've seen?
Stability, just comfortability. He's kind of trying to feel us out as players as well, how we are, some guys react differently to different coaching. So I think just getting a grasp of that. And so I think he's really done a good job going in and just establishing leaders and having us, just kind of run the show in the summer especially. So I think that's, been had a lot of growth for our offensive line as well going into the season.
What have your coaches wanted you to work on coming into this season?
For me, it was being more verbal, just having that leadership role. You know what I mean? Being the fifth-year senior and having played a lot of football. So I think they wanted to see more of that for sure. And then on the field, just the basic stuff. Playing with more power, more consistent. You know what I mean? Being able to bend more.
Does that come naturally to you, being able to be more verbal? Is that something that you really have to work on?
I was in high school, but yeah, I mean, on the stage, you know what I mean? You got guys from all over the country, and just kind of being comfortable with that, comfortable with the room, and just kind of gaining that respect. I think that it's something that's proven over time. And so I think, this summer, where it's just been the players, I think that's helped out a lot.
Looking at Coach Loxley, the fact that he's stepping up, just what have you seen as he's managed this offense now, and how helpful was it that it was someone you guys were already familiar with?
Yeah, so, I mean, for us as players, we were kind of rooting for him. Once that spot opened up, we were like, Coach Loxley would be awesome for it, and he deserved the chance. So we were really excited to see him get that spot. He just brings a new juice. I think he's very good with the players. The players respect him a lot and almost just want to go hang out with him. He's fun to talk to and very laid back. So that's been something different that we really enjoy.
Ross, how much have you been around Jeff Banks so far? What's been your impression of him, if you have it?
He's got a lot of juice, a lot of energy. Been around him. He runs special teams. I think he's a great special teams coach as well as a tight end. But I've been more around him in special teams. He brings like a whole new philosophy. He's got a proven system that worked at Texas A&M where they were very good at special teams. So he's bringing some of those kinks to Alabama where we think it could be very helpful for us. So the guys bought into him, and like I said, he brings a lot of energy, and so we responded well to him.
It was Ross Pierschbaker there talking about his offensive coordinator. So team very excited to have him. Has a personality that you just gravitates to. It reminds me of the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. If you remember, Butch Davis had built that team, and then he left to coach the Cleveland Browns. And the University of Miami, the president, that entire organization is on their whole coaching search, trying to find a coach. And Ed Reed, Al Blades, guys like Philip Buchanan, they had studs on that Miami defense. They had studs on offense too. But that entire Miami team goes up to the president and says, "Ma'am, we know you guys are in the middle of a coaching search. We know that y'all have y'all favorites, y'all picks and chooses, what have y'all. But if we can make a suggestion, we're the student athletes, we're the ones playing, we're the ones bringing the revenue in. If we can make a suggestion, we want Larry Coker. We feel like we can win a national championship. We can do all the things you want us to do if we can have Larry Coker. We know you're trying to get your guy in. We know you're trying to have your coaching search, but the guy we want, the guy we desire, is already on the staff. We want him bumped up. Give us Larry Coker." And the players made it happen. They got Larry Coker, and they would go on to win a national championship. And it's the same thing here almost. Coach Saban trying to have his search for the next offensive coordinator, and players coming in. Coach Nick, we trust you. We love you. We see that you are trying to find the next coordinator, but there's something about Coach Locks, Nick. We like him. He identifies with us. He wants to be here. And probably the biggest thing that set it off for the players, remember the first game of the season last year against Florida State? Started off in Atlanta, and Coach Loxley and his wife wake up to tragic news the next morning of their son died, their son passing away, and everybody's telling Coach Locks, go home, grieve, get a plane to Maryland, be with your family. Your son just lost his life. We understand. Go be with them. And eventually, Coach Locks does that. Coach Saban even reaches out. Coach, if you need to take some time off, do that. Coach Locks says, no, I need to be here. This is my way of coping. This is my way of grieving. I need to be around these guys. And for those players to see Michael Loxley at the most vulnerable point in his career at this time, losing his son, to see him put that to the side, to be with them, to want to coach them, to want to be around them, that set something off in those players. Because they're thinking, either this man really loves us or he is highly crazy. His son just died, and he's here choosing us over that because he wants to cope with it by being with us. That was something that really struck a nerve in those players. They wanted Coach Loxley, and they got it. As we flip this over to Tosh Lupoi, here is someone that has elevated himself into being one of the hottest young elite recruiters, coaches in college football. In terms of the 2017 recruiting class, if Alabama does not have Lupoi, it probably does not land Tua Tagovailoa, Najee Harris, Christopher Allen, and Dylan Moses. Lupoi was the Southeastern Conference Recruiter of the Year due to his ability to speak the language of players, understand players, gravitate to players, and having that personality that guys just want to play for him. I mean, here is somebody that has grown through the ranks of the process. Came to Alabama in 2014 as a defensive recruiting intern, grew to being an on-field coach with outside linebackers, garnered a co-defensive coordinator position title, and despite the fact that he's never ran a defense before, he's never called schemes, he's never strategized things as a DC, his ability to have that rapport with the players is huge. I mean, I go back to Ryan Anderson and Tim Williams for just a moment. Both of those two guys were good before Lupoi, more so Ryan Anderson than Tim Williams. But when Tosh became an on-field coach in 2015, you saw an immediate jump in production from both guys. I don't think both guys get drafted the way they did in 2017 if not for Tosh Lupoi. So when you bring him up to outside linebackers, guys like Jamie Mosley, Anthony Jennings, Terrell Lewis, Christian Miller, Christopher Allen, it's like their heart flutters because it's not just intensity with him. It's intensity, teachable moments, brotherhood, friendship. He's a personable guy. You can bring anything to Tosh, and Tosh is going to try his hardest to help solve a situation. That's the kind of guy he is. I remember Anthony Jennings discussed at Media Days there's not going to be much of a difference between Lupoi and Jeremy Pruitt. Both guys high energy, both guys aggressive, but I feel like Tosh will pick his spots when to be aggressive a bit better than Jeremy Pruitt was able to do. And then with pairing Tosh with Pete Golding, somebody who has called defenses before. The last 2 years, he was at University of Texas, San Antonio. 2017, the Roadrunners gave up 17 points a game. Golding produced a defensive end in Marcus Davenport, who was selected first round, 14th overall pick by the New Orleans Saints in this year's draft that occurred early on in the spring. Davenport, 8.5 sacks last season, 17 tackles for loss, led the team in both categories. Pete Golding's a good fit. To have him with Tosh Lupoi is a big deal. And you just look at everybody on the staff. Josh Gaddis will do some offensive coordinator things, but when you bring his name up among receivers, the things you hear, Josh Gaddis knows his stuff. Passionate about life. Passionate about football, wants to see everybody get better, wants to see everyone improve. When he was at Vanderbilt with James Franklin, took a guy in Jordan Matthews, made him an all-SEC caliber player. When he was at Penn State, helped Trace McSorley be a two-time 3,000-yard quarterback and took Chris Godwin at wide receiver, made him a 1,000-yard target. When you look at Craig Kulagowski, I mean, you tell me a defensive player that would not want to play for a guy whose Twitter handle reads at Nets meet at the quarterback. Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, Quinnen Williams, LeBron Ray, Dylan Moses, Mack Wilson, Anthony Jennings, Terrell Lewis, Christian Miller. These guys are chomping at the bit to play for this man. They're excited. Carl Scott's doing his thing on the recruiting trail, defensive backs coach. I said so many things about Jeff Banks. I can write a book on that guy. I mean, even with the kind of eeriness of having Joe Panunzio, coach running backs, former player personnel guy, the individual that Nick Saban has paired with Coach Panunzio is somebody who helped kick off the unprecedented dynasty of a run, and that's Glenn Coffey. And many people forget about him because Heisman winners and Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry get more love, and the guys in between those guys get more attention. But this thing started off on 1,383 yards on the ground from Glenn Coffey in 2008. This is a very scary, complete coaching staff. And even down to Dan Enos, was a scout team quarterback at Michigan State in 1987 when Nick Saban was a defensive assistant on staff. The proof is in the pudding with Enos in terms of quarterbacks. Ryan Radcliffe, Cooper Rush at Central Michigan, Brandon Allen, Austin Allen at Arkansas, four kind of average guys that Enos produced extraordinary numbers with. Conversations about Jalen and Tua, very tempting to see what Tua can do if he's the guy. If he morphs into the guy, should be very interesting. Jalen Hurts, by no means Texas guy, is going to back down, but it should be fun. But the thing that was missed at media days from national pundits, Alabama fans, more than likely happy about this. This is a scary, complete coaching staff with Tosh Lapoy and Michael Locksley being bumped up, and nobody's talking about it. I'm very excited to see what this coaching staff does next season. We're going to go to our next break here on In My Own Words. When we get back, going to finally jump into tight ends, top five in each position of a Nick Saban era. We left off on wide receivers, been running and ripping the last couple of days, but finally going to jump into tight ends on the other side of the break. To My Own Words.